Jim Cunningham with you from Classical QED 89.3. Nikolaj Znaider back at Heinz Hall. Welcome, Nikolaj. Good to have you.
Good to see you, Jim.
Conducting this time.
Yes.
And a great program. We've got the Schumann Fourth Symphony, Hebrides by Mendelssohn, and Scottish Fantasy from Max Bruch. I just heard a bit of the rehearsal with the concertmaster of the Pittsburgh Symphony, Noah Bendix-Bowley. It sounds terrific.
Yeah, I think. Look, I mean, we know it's a great orchestra, but the orchestra has a really terrific concertmaster who can hold his own with a piece like the Scottish Fantasy. You know, it's not just a concertmaster getting up and playing something solo, but it's very, technically demanding piece that he plays beautifully.
You really know the orchestra well now. You've appeared as a soloist a number of times. You've toured with the orchestra. You've conducted them in the past. You were friends.
Yeah, it's wonderful when you stop getting to know each other. You know, when you get past that initial phase of we like him, we don't like him, I like them, we get along. We don't, after a while and concerts and travels together, as you say, and you go through enough things together that when you meet again, it's a reunion, and it's more like, oh, it's good to see you. It feels like a home in that sense, and I think that's comes from trust, I suppose, and it comes from mutual sympathy, obviously, and I just feel that it makes the work, the work at hand, so much easier.
You've played the Scottish Fantasy. You and Noah are of the same mind.
Here even. I played it here. We had the same harpist with a lot of the same people. So it's really, it's fun to switch roles, as it were. Look, my general view of having the same view, as you ask, is slightly different, because I don't think it's about me imposing my view or him, Noah imposing his, or the soloist imposing his. It's about meeting. It's about finding our piece in that moment. Of course there are impulses that come sometimes from the solo instrument, sometimes from the conductor, but in general it has to be a musical dialogue, a wordless dialogue, if you will, that goes on stage.
Well, what do you love about the Scottish Fantasy? It has a great brooding opening and then a happy ending, Scottish tunes.
Well, look, it's a phenomenal vehicle for the violin, and Bruch was I think, a terrific composer. Most of his works have been forgotten today, but when you put him in a program, as we do with the Mendelssohn, another piece which has a Scottish influence in the first half, and then with Schumann in the second half, so if you wish, have a Scottish program, but all German. When you put Bruch in that company, you see actually what quality music he actually wrote.
The Hebrides Overture is a fun piece, standalone concert overture. Mendelssohn went on a trip to look at the cave, it's Fingal's cave, and you do hear the ocean.
Oh, absolutely.
Waves.
It's a very evocative piece. It has, if we always credit Liszt with inventing programmatic music, but Mendelssohn got there too, didn't he, very early on? And this is one of the great examples of if not programmatic music, then at least highly evocative music that has a geographical setting, even, that you can picture, and you really sense the waves crashing in, and it's a highly charged drama in the music which comes from the nature.
Why did you choose the Schumann Fourth?
Well, when you get it to choosing repertoire, there's a lot of things that go into it. It's not just me saying, I will do Schumann. I say, can we do this? No, that doesn't work because somebody did it last year. So there's a lot of that going back and forth. But every piece that I do, I want to feel close to. And I find that those Schumann symphonies are, I don't want to say they are underrated, because that's maybe not fair, but they have this reputation of Schumann having been a bad orchestrator. I'm not sure. If it's done really, really well, it works. It's just very hard to do. It puts extreme demands on the virtuosity of the orchestra, on the ensemble. It doesn't forgive you. It's sort of like Haydn on steroids in that sense. I did a Haydn symphony last week, and there you really sense, my God, it's so exposed, and every little tiny imprecision becomes noticeable and almost magnified. You have a little bit of that. It's not quite as obvious, but the music only works in its highest form when all those little details sort of fall into place.